Just don't come with any fat, does
This
it?
agenda gets fatter every time I see it.
That's right. I can get it go down, but I can't get it. Better than whatever.
Wait a minute, hang on. Let me just move you over. All right, how's that? Better? We got an extra pen if you need one. Easily.
It's just a matter of digging for them.
I hear you.
Just makes it easier.
It is the top of the hour, and June 12th, 2018, Billerica Historical Preservation Commission is now in session. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a move to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda
I
as
second.
presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Approval of the minutes.
I'm sorry.
Minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, excuse me.
Any corrections or additions?
No.
Okay. Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Public comment. Would anyone like to speak for a minute, maximum of 3 minutes?
Or for now, forever hold your peace.
Okay. Reports of officers, board members, and standing committees.
Huh, Lenise. Yeah, were you already? That was quick.
Good evening. Lenise Lyons, Planning and Zoning Specialist, City of Billerica. As 2 or 4 of you know, last night we had our second public meeting, which featured this map that you see here. And we did a similar exercise from the first time of calling out where certain things should go, such as single family, well, low density, medium, and high density residential, parks, neighborhood commercial development, infrastructure, public and civic centers. So this presentation was, during the presentation, the consultant put together, as we were speaking about earlier, all of the feedback from the first map and kind of laid out where everyone individually had dotted on their maps all into one. So there was a presentation on the demographics of the city, some projections on population, and at this point, I believe the consultants are seeing some recurring themes as far as what the feedback is: preserving our natural and historic features, pay attention to our infrastructure, prioritize that, and diversify our economic base through attracting different industries to the city, things like that. So at this point, this is our second meeting. The next one will be an open house style meeting, projected for August. The format for that will be an all day event, possibly at the library, possibly at Gold Dust, where they would set up for the length of the day for people to come in and out and view the maps, showing where, I guess, the future land use map, existing land uses, zoning, and probably a compilation of everything as far as all the feedback from the survey and everything else. So I think at the meeting he said that we were at 570 responses for the survey, which I think is pretty solid. The first meeting had 50 people come. This one had about 25. So we're coming to a close as far as the public input. The next step after the open house will be to formally present a draft of the plan to Planning Commission, and then on to City Council for adoption. It's also got to go to ARC and the Department of Community Affairs to make sure we're in compliance with them. So that's where we are at this point. I know in your packets tonight we've included a portion of the previous comp plan, which has consideration to historic preservation and natural resources, which gives a cute, brief history of the city, some of the resources that are here. I know there's a list of historic places that may need to be updated. This was done in 2006. So you guys want to consider it tonight, I see it on the agenda. If you want to take it home for some consideration, definitely all of your feedback will be given to the consultant and in some way incorporated into the update. So that is my update.
Thank you, Lindy. Just to make sure, what we have with the part that you have here with all of those historic places, what you're asking us is that as a commission, what you want us to do is to see if there's any that need to be updated, if we need to have any of them on there, and then turn them over to you so that they can go ahead and add that into the whole plan.
Right. The objectives and goals that are on the attachments that were sent to you, these are very broad policies. We don't get into kind of the weeds of how exactly we're going to carry out these things. That's kind of things that you guys form as your priorities as a commission moving forward. But if some of these things, conserve, protect, and promote Villa Henrica's historic resources, if that's summing up everything that you think that should be encompassed there, we can leave it alone and keep going. But just for you guys to consider as a commission, make sure that we're getting your input, as we need you so much to make sure that our commission works well and that we're staying true to the goals and objectives of our comprehensive plan. So,
Thank you very much.
all right, no problem.
Appreciate you coming and giving us all of that.
No problem.
Any questions that you have for her or anything else?
I do. We had spoken, I guess, I don't know if it's amongst ourselves or with you in conjunction with the National Register. And on page 52 of the handout, of Section 4 Historic Resources, page 52, additional historic districts, as Exhibit 34 lists, and Map 4 shows the location of the districts. Exhibit 34, potential National Register districts. Are any properties on the register?
On the National Register?
Yes.
Um,
Not so much these listed, but these are potential others. Okay, where's the primary? I guess it's downtown. It's downtown on the National Register.
that I'm not sure of.
That's okay.
So
There are
these are
homes
showing-
that
I
have
know,
the potential to be.
right. And that's something that's a part of you guys' process is to, if you want to nominate, designate, and there's a whole public hearing process. I don't think it was probably followed up on beyond it being encompassed into this plan if it's
Correct.
still at potential. We can certainly double check the National Register to see if any of these were brought forward, and looking through some of the files, I'm not really able to tell you for sure that are on our network.
I know some of them are on the website, and some of them are on another website that
I know-
I've seen. So it's just a matter of verifying that they are there.
Williams Family Farm is on there, 55 Goldworth.
Mm-hmm.
That one, I'm pretty sure is on there. Yeah. That's the main one I've seen. Only because we were dealing with some other issues surrounding that area. But that's certainly something I'll double check and have an update for
Okay.
you.
Okay.
That'd be fine, thank you.
Are you familiar with since you're on Historical Society, have you all discussed any of the national and regional?
Actually, I have removed myself from the Historical Society. They're a good group of people, but they're more concerned with a specific house at this point than moving outside of that one house. So, I've backed away for right now.
Okay.
Once they come back into the area versus just a single home, then I'll be happy to go back.
Could we ask you to kind of spearhead some of this and do a double check for us since you're got all of that in there?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions for? Thank you, Denise. Okay. Old business.
Okay. Old business. Here are two cases tonight. The first is the Southern Homes and Land Certificate of Appropriateness. This property is located at 228 West Montgomery Street. The project description is the applicant is requesting a certificate of appropriateness for adding new canvas awnings to the facade of the building. The color of the canvas would be either black or rich red. The applicant is also requesting to paint the outside of the building gray with black trim and to add metal sconces beside the main door. You've seen the application materials. They've included a rendering of what the facade will look like, as far as the color and where the metal, the type of sconce that they're describing. Also a letter from the property owner, Donna Phillips, or the managing partner for this, as far as them owning the building and saying that they're in support of the improvements that the applicant wants to make. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. The conditions are awnings to be canvas or fabric with matte finish with colors that coordinate with the rest of the district. The building colors, as far as the paint, building colors should include light earth tones which complement existing color scheme found on the block. And as far as the lanterns, metal sconces, coach lanterns, metal sconces should be avoided as they are inappropriate elements for the downtown district. And per the commercial design standards in Chapter 6, avoid creating false historical appearances such as colonial, Old English, Spanish, or other theme designs that include inappropriate elements such as mansard roofs, metal awnings, coach lanterns, small pane windows, plastic shutters, inoperable shutters, or shutters on windows where they never previously existed.
Okay, I would like to add something in here.
Oh.
With our rules that are on here, do we have, the applicant is here? The guidelines that we have with the Georgia Historical Preservation has, it could be updated. However, what we don't want is cookie cutter. We want everything to be somewhat unique, but to keep the ambiance and the character of Villa Rica as we grow. And because we have committees out there, not only for the trail, but for what we were doing even last night, there's a lot going on. And I don't want us to always jump to conclusions about what it's going to be like. Part of the objection that the state has, in addition to other states, as far as the type of material that is used, is because of some of the fatal and near-fatal accidents that have occurred in states when they've had heavy metal and other types of things. Do we need to have all canvas? Not necessarily. But we could have aluminum, which is a metal, however, it is a lot lighter than a heavier metal. There are those types of additions that we could approve and say yes. My other comment, and then, is, although gray is now considered a neutral color, it is not the dark gray, and I'm looking at the gray and red and wondering, is it University of Georgia or is it West Point colors that are on there? I think that maybe a gray would not be bad if it were a light gray and not a darker one that is shown in the picture. Come up.
Should I stand here or?
Yes,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
need to be on the mic.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, that was, we say a gray, we had a gray on there. It doesn't have, it's just, just something warm. We didn't want to be exactly like, there's a property next door, the one that has been renovated and it's for sale. Used to be a garage. We didn't want to exactly match that.
Is this the one that's adjacent to
Yeah,
it?
no, it's on the other side.
On the other side of it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
But it wouldn't have to be this, but we wanted to do something warmer than, and I think that's too dark personally. So, I kind of came up with that, but yeah, that's not a biggie,
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lighter color that we're keeping with the neutrals according to the state guidelines would be great.
Right.
I have another question, which has, on your drawing, I realize that you're only looking at the first two.
Right.
Why aren't you including the third one?
Because it doesn't belong to us. It's Tom Large's, but at the time when I did that, we were talking about possibly renting that from Tom. Southern Homes Land was going to expand over there, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of dead in the water. So that was why. That's why we included it, because at the time we were talking seriously about it.
Okay.
But as of now, I don't think so.
Any other questions?
No, I second Nancy that I would like to see a lighter gray.
Or what about a more of a stone color? You know what I mean? It's got gray to it, but it's got more of a, the inside of our building is kind of I painted that kind of a light stone color. It's got a gray and brown to it, somewhere in between gray and brown.
If you went with, and there's so many variations on gray. Personally, I love gray. I have plans for gray on my house. The gray that I really, really like, and you can go several different ways. You can have a gray that has a leaning toward a purple color almost, or a blue or a green.
Yeah.
I would like to see something leaning lighter.
Yeah. But with a brown cast underneath.
A gray
where
with
it's
a
not,
brown.
Because purpley,
And not necessarily purple,
but
but,
yeah,
something lighter.
yeah, definitely.
I will speak up for Mrs. Norton. She is an artist, an amazing one, and so she's probably far better judge on blue or violet grays than we are. She's got a better eye than we do, but.
Well, gee, why don't we do it purple?
Hey, there we go. No.
Can do. We are VR.
My
No.
house is on Magnolia Street in Rockmart on the
Yeah.
corner there, and when we moved in, it did have a purple and gold room in it.
It is a little joke between us.
But anyway,
And actually, our historical preservation has absolutely nothing to do with the inside. It's only on the outside.
yeah.
What are your alternatives in the sconces or the lighting
Well,
at the
yeah,
doorway?
I don't know what they. Well, we were wanting something like this. I mean, I say we. You know,
That's okay.
Just let me be honest.
That's right.
And I put several examples. That's kind of a bubble glass. I think that's the one I sent y'all. Wasn't
Yes.
it?
Yes.
Yeah, it
That,
is.
that type. And why I like that one is it also had this one that sits on a post. There's a post there.
Correct.
That needs a lantern. And what we have right now is horribly ugly. I don't know if y'all have noticed. It's like a royal blue awning,
Yeah.
and then the lights are just terrible. And you know, on the outside, we were wanting to do something like this. There's something kind of like that now, but this style on the outside, you know, over our sign, we're probably we would like to do a new sign that's prettier and updated. It's kind of aged. I mean, everything about the building is. It looks
Yes.
terrible. I mean, there's all these different styles,
Right.
and I mean, we don't want to be, you know, goofy looking, and we don't want to look like we're fake historical or anything like that. Most of these things are. I mean, when I say alternatives, we could do something like this even as our sconces, but you know, if that's
Yeah, covered lamp.
Do you happen to know how old the building is?
That was my next question.
I think it's what'd you? Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I was saying like maybe in the 20s. It was.
Yeah. So basically, as long as the lighting maybe would match that particular time period,
Right.
to give that kind of a
Art
look.
Deco,
Yeah. I mean, it's a well, Art Deco, well, that might be
or
over.
a Mission. What about Mission? I mean, that's the 20s.
The Prairie style, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
That'd be okay.
But you do have other choices other than the metal
Oh, yeah.
with those. So that with the, with our approval, but with conditions,
Right.
are you willing to go ahead and do that and make sure that we have approved of those conditions?
Yeah. And would I need to just bring some more styles in or things like that, or?
And perhaps paint samples?
Yeah, I could come back. I know we're trying to get a grant. Is what we're doing. We were hoping-
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping we can do this. You know, it's just. But I want it to look charming and updated at the same time. Yeah. I'll probably help them paint it, probably. Because I did last time on the inside.
Yeah. So you're gonna have an awning over the,
There's already.
like over the double door, then you're gonna do the two windows.
Well, I mean, that was.
No, sorry, we're just,
Yeah, I know that was, we asked for that
Okay,
originally, then we
right.
heard that we couldn't. We may not then, I mean, if that's not acceptable. And
No,
we
no,
may not
that's
have
fine.
funds to do that one right now anyway, you know.
There are a lot of options. I spent all last week looking at awnings all over town and going in and asking people, what material did you use? What does it look like? How is it attached? So I'm becoming a mini expert, I think, in awnings in the city of Billerica. So I know that there are other options that you can have. That's as long as it's not the metal,
Yeah.
and it's in keeping with the building.
I do actually have one quick question, and clarify for me. In this drawing, this is the section that you do not own, is that correct?
Well, we don't own any of it,
Oh, what?
Tom, you know, but yeah.
Right, you're only using, so here, my concern, and for the other commissioners, is that if we're painting this section, the little
wall.
wall, and then this is going to remain, it's what is the current color?
It's kind of a tannish color.
Can, and please forgive me, who is in that location right now? Do you know? Is it empty?
It's empty.
It's for sale.
Is it?
Okay.
I thought that I saw
sorry,
something in
Kate.
front of just the other day.
Oh, maybe. I didn't notice this week.
What's your street address?
228 West Montgomery. Yeah, I haven't noticed somebody else coming in.
I'm Googling an image.
This picture here on the front of it looks like it's kind of a taupey gray. So I guess my concern would be also matching those colors so that it's not so terribly awkward, because you do have obviously the facade and then
There's that little
the
courtyard.
wall that would
Yeah.
remain the same color, and then this
That little
little half
wall.
wall thing.
I know.
Yeah, so my concern would be that it blends, because it appears from the street that it's the same building, since you
Yeah.
do have that courtyard.
Which is why I
Right.
asked, why in the world did you
Yeah.
have, not do that building?
Yeah, I know there was talk though about that other building. This is maybe Chris that said this to me, that they would not, even if we did rent that, he didn't think that we should paint it that same color. To break it up.
Differentiate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be fine, I mean,
And I'm not concerned about the front, the front of that second building. I'm concerned about the side that is within that courtyard.
Well, we probably wouldn't paint that. That's not ours anyway.
Yeah, and I would,
Just,
so that's what's odd. It's not your building. You don't need to spend the money on it.
right.
It's just
But I
gonna
think it would
be-
look odd, don't you, to have just that wall painted?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's where my
Yeah,
concern
it is a
is.
funky little thing because it's got the wall and it's
Yeah.
got that section with the windows on it. right there.
Yeah.
however, if you check some of the other villages that we've been to, and you see buildings that are, adjacent to each other, where they've got a shared lot line, they are different. And it does say this is a different place of business.
Right.
And so I don't see a problem with that. I just was not aware that it was somebody else who had it. I
Right.
thought it was all one whole thing,
Yeah.
which would make a difference if it's all one business. However, if it's going to be a different business,
That'll differentiate.
Yeah, just stop it right there.
Yeah.
then
From the image I can see, the building next door is kind of a
It's a gray anyway. in the front.
kind of a taupey brown.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's kind of taupey brown.
Yeah, I thought we need contrast, but not,
Is it? Oh, it's on the back page.
Yeah.
Trying to find it.
we have it.
Maybe.
Where's that now?
Ah, yes. Is it the same color as
This is just a touch browner.
oh, okay.
Not much, from what I could see just then.
It's the same color.
If
Okay.
you look up at the top of the picture, it shows, yeah. right
Yeah.
there.
It's almost like a mustard color on the picture.
Our building or, yeah.
Well, the one in the
We have
picture
that
almost
looks like a mustard, or a darker mustard color.
It may be distorted a little, but it's kind of a putty color.
Mhm.
Yeah.
okay.
Ugly. Well, I mean, if it needs, there's holes in it where they've, I don't know, done signs in the years past. It just needs repair and needs to be,
Yeah.
fixed up.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any comments?
One comment, has Tom ever considered removing the wall? Just taking that totally out of the equation?
I ought to talk to him about that, because that wall is a consternation for all of us, because it's always crumbling. There's little chunks come out of it, and he has to bring his guys over there to patch it, and it looks terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
I walked through town probably 2 weeks ago, did the entire
Uh-huh.
circle, and it looks kind of,
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does that, and it'll kind of crumble out, and I haven't. we could talk
Yeah.
about it.
That's a good point, because actually if it's down and you put a little garden or something in there, that
Yeah.
would do it, even be able to sit out there or do
Like a
something.
planter or
Yeah.
a box or something.
Bench.
Part of our charge is not only to preserve, but it's also to protect. And what we do know is that, it's unfortunate that some historic buildings have been disrepair and not taken care of. And unfortunately, those are the ones that we do have to raise, because they're not going to be there. Or they could be detrimental to our safety as well. That might be it's crumbling, and I didn't know that. And I'm not sure that we did always either. They may have, but if you could speak to him about that, that might serve.
Yeah, I will. Because that might be a good thing, because it, then in a sense, it's its own little parklet already. You know, we have tables and umbrellas. We have a new girl working there. She actually puts them up, and that's a, you know.
Which would be in keeping with the whole ambience of what we want to do.
Right.
So, would it be acceptable for you to speak to him and come back, knowing that we are approving of a lighter color, but with those suggestions to see if he would be,
Yeah.
amenable to
I'd
that?
be happy to do that.
And I guess what we're gonna do is, we're not gonna technically table, but we're gonna do a pass with conditions and then come back and submit for final approval.
Okay.
Is that okay? Because we still haven't, as far as what I'm hearing, we really haven't resolved the color issue, nor have we resolved the light issue.
Yeah, so these lights are not acceptable then, right?
That one, no, correct.
That one's
But you've got others in there,
Yeah.
in the pack, and I think that you
But if you-
probably, and actually the light is something you really need to paint before you need to do the lights, so
Yeah.
you need
Can
to do
we
the awning and then the
take a
painting
look
before you
at
do the
those?
lights. Yeah. So,
You may find a light like that that isn't with metal either, though.
What would it have if it didn't have metal? How would that?
I think that was the objection, was the metal on there, was that your objection?
no, it's just out of period, it doesn't,
I agree, yeah.
It's too cool.
you're
Yeah,
trying to make it
this
go back
is-
to the 1700s, and you're not, you're the 1900s.
I like the, yes, this one is more true to the time period of the building.
It's kind of a farming, well,
Yeah.
you know.
And you need to see if
So-
that's agreeable to the client, too.
That one,
The client, Tom lets me do whatever.
It's
He
kinda-
always comes and gets
this
me
is
for
actually
stuff.
more along the lines
I
of
mean,
a,
I helped him do uncorked and all that stuff.
Trust you to make the
Yeah.
final decision. Okay.
So we're not tabling, but we're going to be asking you to come back with perhaps a color chart that shows us the color and perhaps another choice of a lighting that fits the period.
Yeah, some more options.
Okay. Anything else?
Okay. Here we go. I wrote like on 2 of those that we do think are cool.
Thank you very much.
All right.
You don't need to move on that. We can. Should we make a motion? Okay, we need a motion.
how would we word that?
Tell us what we're doing.
A motion to pass with conditional approval at the next meeting, making sure that the colors and/or light fixtures are appropriate.
Denise?
Perfect.
So I'm just trying to understand, you're gonna approve her to come back next month?
This is a conditional approval, which
Okay.
means that, yes, we do think the building needs painted. We are liking the direction that the colors are going in, but the actual final choice of color has to come back and be approved.
Okay, so, because that almost seems like a deferral, because you're not really.
Yeah, I know, that's
That's
Yeah.
where I'm thinking we're going
Okay,
to.
it's because you have, if you're gonna come back with your renderings,
Samples and stuff.
then
Okay.
we can defer it for 30 days, come back, and then we'll have, as soon as you get the packet to us, we can disseminate it amongst everyone, and then they'll have it and be ready to decide or have a going back and forth about whatever.
So because of the holiday, we could defer it for 45 days.
Yeah, because we've got
Because our
because our meeting's in conflict and city council's taking our meeting date.
yeah,
Ooh, that's
because of the 4th of July, so we would have to,
okay.
yeah,
So that would,
So that puts us,
and we gotta make sure no one else has the space for the following Tuesday,
mm-hmm,
the 17th?
mm-hmm.
Okay,
so
all right.
we're booked.
All
So
right,
we'll-
in that case, I amend my motion. We are going,
Once you just take it back and restate.
yes, I take that back fully. and
it wasn't seconded, so.
Restate
Okay.
that I would like to defer the color choice and the lighting choice until 45 days, approximately July 17th, I think it was. To the July meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Larry,
so I can give it back to her.
Oh, yes.
The next is Alicia Van Ellis, Certificate of Appropriateness. This is for 120 West Montgomery Street. The applicant is requesting a certificate of appropriateness for adding a sign to the facade of the building. The sign will read Adorable Pet Day Spa. Adorable Pet will be white PVC lettering measuring 22 inches in height. Day Spa will be black vinyl lettering measuring 11 inches in height. There's some renderings in the applicant's package. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. The sign must meet the requirements as written in the UDC. Maximum sign area of 300 square feet or 10% of the wall face. And per the commercial design standards, new signs for historic buildings should respect the size, scale, and design of the building. Shall not obscure significant features of the building. Should be attached to the building carefully so as not to damage the historic fabric. Fittings should penetrate mortar joints rather than the masonry. Sign material should be characteristic of a building's period and style. I think at the time that we drafted these conditions, we're kind of unclear as to what the lettering would look like. So these are part of the conditions, but more of an FYI. As far as what it would look like, we just weren't very clear on it, so we just included those as a cautionary measure. Right, but that doesn't really indicate, for a sign application, we kind of require to know what those materials are, how they're going to be mounted, things like that. So without the benefit of that, we don't see an issue with having the sign. It'll be similar to, I'm sure, a lot of the other signs that are kind of placed upon, well, some of them are inset into the wall as far as using the existing support and structure in order to mount the sign. But because we didn't have that information, we just wanted to make sure that it was clear in the staff recommendation.
Okay. You are the applicant. You are the applicant. Please, go on up. Good evening.
Hello.
I have one question.
Yes,
You have a 1-year lease, or are you going to be having a longer lease?
it's a 1-year lease. But I plan to be there for a while.
Well, that's
How long has the business itself, not you personally, because I think the Pit store has been there a little bit longer.
It's been there for 4 years. And I just took ownership of it back in April, and I changed the name.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing, so.
Do you have any trouble with any of the conditions as presented?
No. I think she read the top material was gonna be PVC pipe and the bottom, or PVC and the bottom was vinyl. It's all PVC. It's just painted black. The day spa will be painted black and the top will be painted white.
How is it going to be mounted to the building?
Extreme Images is gonna be doing it, and they told me that they don't see a problem with the conditions as far as mounting it. I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure, but I told him that it needs to be in the mortar and not on the brick, and he said that that's fine.
Okay.
Will you be the one who is addressing the conditions?
I'm sorry?
Will you be the one who is addressing the conditions?
Yes.
I'm good. I have no other questions.
I don't have any questions.
So you're gonna do a white on black for Adorable Pet. Then you're gonna attach Day Spa as a separate sign below, is correct?
Yes. The building next to mine is Michelle's Dance Academy.
You're right.
And I was kind of trying to do something similar
Correct.
to hers. Or I'm sorry, it's Michelle's Academy.
No,
of Dance.
that's okay. That's okay. We can see a little piece of it in the picture. That's okay. I understand. Whatever.
Is there a motion to accept?
I motion to accept signage as stated.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Awesome. You got it.
Under new business,
Plaque list. Who is doing the
the
plaque?
historic preservation list.
Okay. So, are we looking at updating this form, or?
Correct.
Okay. So this is your plaque placement list. It's a column showing when the structure was built, the address, when the plaque was placed, and the owners. There are a few on here that do not have a plaque placement. That they're looking to be placed. I know previously there was one nominated for this. And we just didn't kind of have it go through the formal application process, which is what we're looking to do moving forward. This is some FYI for your review. The plaque placement.
So on the third page where we have potentials, no plaques purchased. We've identified these properties as being eligible, but we have no inventory to distribute to them. Is that correct?
Well, it stands. They would need to make application to be a part of this program, to where we would celebrate their historic characteristics, and have something where they be recognized at a hearing, and then have a formal picture taking ceremony on the building when it's placed on. So we just want to make sure that these are going through a formal process, and then we're not arbitrarily adding properties to a list because we like them a lot. We want to make sure that the community is aware of what's going on, and that the owner knows that we're fond of their building.
So over the chairman's signature, why don't we draft a letter inviting these so listed addressees and owners to make application
Okay.
to us?
But the first two pages have already been placed,
Nope.
so they are already, they're
The
not,
first page has
First
their-
page.
because you're one of them.
Now, on the second page are those plaques that have already been purchased and that are, those are sitting at City Hall. So we simply need to notify the owners of presentation.
Ms. Ford, Ms. Ford, would you please call City Hall and see if you can make a schedule your photo time?
By the way, Katie, 326 was built in 1868.
That's the information that I had to go off of the current list, but I'll fix it for you. 1868? Okay. And then I'll double check that plaque too, make sure that they didn't incorrectly.
We can change that date? I was told I couldn't for my house, which is my plaque is 1890, but it's actually 1886.
Plaques that we have.
It's already printed, I get that.
Yeah. And the place that made them.
Get some paint.
He said, get some paint and paint it.
We're doing paint by numbers.
Nail
We're so
polish will
childish.
get that right out.
I have a plaque on my house and it says, on this site, and something, 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 nothing historic happened.
1789, nothing happened.
That's so kind.
Okay, then while we're at that, Katie, on the first page, second to the last, 303 Rockmart Road, it's 1886.
Kim, would this go with, I asked you earlier to kind of check them and
Actually,
check check the historical significance of some of these places
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
So if you'll go ahead and do that.
Sure.
And then report back
Okay.
what you find.
I'll make
Thank you.
myself go to the meeting next week. Would you like to go? I know what they're going to discuss.
The goals and objectives.
So we got that. Okay. Cool. And last but not least.
We good there?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
We'll double check these dates on all of these using the tax assessor's data. I guess that's the most current.
Yeah. Correct.
Reliable.
No.
Okay. And we will not use that.
Okay, so who's gonna go do the title search? Renee.
Already worked on that and it took me
Intern,
forever.
intern.
I'll work on that more.
Okay, and then the second new business item is the discussion of the Historic Preservation Commission goals and objectives. We had a chance to browse through the history of Villa Rica with landmark properties, historic commercial district. I noticed that there's not a discussion of very much of residential in regards to historic resources. We call our houses, but we do not have guidelines that if someone needed, they wouldn't have to come before you for a COA. I think at some point there were discussion of adding this historic guidelines as far as residential, and I'm just not sure what happened. So I know that section is not very well covered in here. We do have some resources as far as there was a historic survey done in 2007, 2006, 2007 that did a pretty great job of cataloging contributing and non-contributing houses to the district, and what should and shouldn't be done. I think there was talk of looking at Cartersville as a framework to start that conversation. But I just noticed that wasn't really discussed very well in here, if at all.
I'm taking a look at what we call the shotgun houses, and that in Villa Rica and the mills and all of them that had many of the people who were living in those types of houses. And so you may have 3 or 4 or more in a street that are all similar and built at the same time. I'm not sure that we want to put a plaque on every single one, but is there a precedence or a possibility of putting a plaque for a district to say this is, if in fact those houses are worthwhile saving and it would be historic? Because you had like Marianne and all those other places that were here years and years ago, even going in, so the people who were living in those would be in those houses, and they are historic, even to the point of being pictured in the historic guidebook to show you those different types of architecture. So I'm wondering if we don't have a historic district that would describe the homes on the street allude to or something like that. Is that a possibility?
We have all the houses that are discussed as historic at this point are like Fullerville and downtown. We do have boundaries there are proposed boundaries in the residential guidelines. It just never was adopted.
Sure, it wasn't adopted in the overall
Well, you can
resolution
adopt
in
it, but
2008.
maybe it was, and you may be right, but there's nothing to protect those houses. So if
True. Now,
something was to
that-
happen,
That was a discussion at the time. Okay, it's kind of it's a hollow.
right? We're like, ooh, look, we
Adoption,
recognize
right.
these, but
Yeah.
if something were to
But
happen,
we can't make you do anything.
if it's not on Main Street, there's
Yeah.
nothing, there's
Right.
no kind of guidelines that protect
Right.
those houses, and
And yet that's all part of our history
it's part of our history, correct?
and needs to be recognized.
And protected.
Well, going back on your theme of trying to have a historic district, or areas. Back here on good old page 52 of potential registered districts. Fullerville Mill Village area does have a listing. And that would meet one of your qualifications, as you were discussing. As is the West Villarica Historical District, which is just west of downtown, and the flower shop and the Chief Street crossing, and goes back that way on the south side of the track. 'Cause those houses were built in the 1920s.
In some cities, the street signs, in addition to just having the name of the city, will say historical district. That might be a solution to being able to put it on there so that when you have the street signs for that, so in Dogwood, historical district, you would know that you are in it without having to do anything else. And I think that would be more cost effective and actually then be honoring everybody within that district.
Yeah, the City of Atlanta does that where they've got the
Yeah.
the wards and the districts and the like, and they're in the neighborhoods, and they've set those up.
I think what I'm hearing are two different issues. We're hearing an issue of recognition, which does need to happen, but I'm also hearing from Denise that there's no protection for those homes. So is that correct at this?
I
There's
don't
nothing.
believe that we have guidelines that
We don't have
if someone
guidelines
wanted
for
to
that.
add on to the house, if they wanted to demolish the house,
Yeah.
they could come to community development.
Technically, anything that's in a historic district does have to have approval done. So if it's a designated historic district, then those houses that are within the district must follow the guidelines. So it's not an individual guideline for a house. But if all of those, if we're saying that, for example, you have a historic district where all the houses were built in 1890 or 19 whatever, then all those on that row are under the same guidelines for any additions or any restoration that has to be done. And that's part of the law.
So then, let me clarify again. What you're saying is there is no guidelines for the residential.
We don't have guidelines.
So we, as a commission, need to make those guidelines. We've got to figure that out.
But and there are some in there.
I would like to ask that the staff approach the University of Georgia and the appropriate committee to draft us some guidelines and give us some guidance.
I think they do have some of them are written.
I was going to ask permission to speak on the
Granted.
along the same lines of where we have come in the last month or so. We don't have any architectural standards
Correct.
for the historic overlay district. I think it appropriate that the commission we need to adopt some color scheme, et cetera, would save us a whole lot of headaches possibly in the future if we were to do that.
Super.
The UDC doesn't dictate anything other than what you've heard. It'd be nice to have a nice color palette made part of our commercial design guidelines. The design studio, University UGA, can certainly help us do that, as well as help us do what you just mentioned.
Yes.
I really think we need some guidelines to protect some residential areas, because we've had a couple of phone calls lately about, what do I do if I want to do this? We're like, we really don't know.
Well, and I have that exact same situation. The new owner to the home across the street from me asked if they can put gutters, and I searched and searched and searched the giant book, and I don't know. I don't know what to tell them.
The design studio it works routinely with Chris in the Main Street district. They're great. It's a great resource. It's free. So I concur 100% on those ideas.
And I'm going to make a motion that we ask you to approach
Okay.
the design studio to
Not a
do
problem.
so,
Not a problem.
do this work for us, for the
For our residential.
our residential, as well as our design guidelines.
Motion been made, is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Good.
Thank you. Is there a design standard for the downtown area specifically?
No.
No,
What?
that's
Didn't
what I
Chris
was
present us-
referring to.
I mean,
Oh, that's what we're
commercial.
gonna do.
Is that commercial as well?
Yes, that's what we're doing.
But the
Okay.
ones that Chris showed us
So we need to
before.
and-
Main Street, south of Main Street.
Correct.
is what we have.
Anything that's in a commercial overlay district that's classified historic preservation district,
Uh-huh.
the commercial design guidelines apply.
See, it's
But
gonna be the houses also going out Westview are gonna be included in
if
that.
they are in that
Oh,
district.
they're in it because
They're
they're
in
gonna
it.
be included in it.
That is correct.
When the
yes.
adoption by council.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, because the master plan thing that we all have been staring at for a couple of years, they put a hotel into play, and it looks like it's from the Jetsons, not from Mayberry.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
So we need to talk to them about, whoever the motel operator is gonna be, to do the exterior to period. Interior can be modern of all the all get out,
Yeah.
but, make the exterior to period.
Mayberry, not the Jetsons.
And this is going to help, this will also help the consultants that we're using right now, if we're able to tell them that we write a color, so that when they give it, if we can have this done with some idea by August, then when we have open house, that could also be included in that whole packet.
Any kind of color selection that's appropriate,
Mhm.
what y'all approve.
Mhm.
I just think it's great when an applicant comes in, okay, your choices are thus.
You need
Yes.
guidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need something other than, whatever you want.
Right.
But I get to say, no, you can't do that,
Yep.
Yep, okay.
Thank you, Denise. Okay. Well, those of you who've been to meetings have heard me say this before. And I really think that we need to adopt a second line for our model for the city, because we are a pioneer city. And then by explaining a pioneer city, it's a pioneer of what went on in the past, but also being a pioneer for what's going on in the future, with all of the changes that are so great.
Why don't we wait till the outcome of Thursday's meeting at
Well-
the trail and see what they've come up with, trail names, how they want to nickname the city.
You know what?
We got this little row to hoe too. All these volunteer committees, they're so much fun.
Okay, Denise, can you answer that for us, and Bobby as well? We do have the thing on Thursday with the trail, and if I'm not mistaken, did they not tell us that they had signs and choices? Are they the ones who are going to come up with the final decision about what they call the trail? No,
It's gonna be up to council.
well, that's the city council.
Mayor and council will make that decision.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about the colors of those? Would they have to go along with the colors that we chose for our signs to make them all compatible?
They would have to go along with the colors that are laid down within the district.
I would think so,
I
yes.
would think so too.
Okay, so that we could actually tell them that on Thursday, that the Historic Preservation Society or Commission is in the process of being able to approve of colors for the signs, and that we would very much like them to follow that format.
The only issue I have with, the possible issue I have with that is the timing of how fast we can get the architectural standards.
They've gone through there, and they're trying to adopt pretty soon. And I don't,
Yeah, but usually it comes back with an answer quickly.
Yeah, we can send an email tomorrow morning,
Yeah,
and hopefully get some kind of estimate on,
within
the
a week.
timeframe.
Yeah, yeah, I know they're pretty fast, so that's good.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Then we know we've got our work cut out for us. Okay. Anything else? Move to adjourn?
Sorry, go ahead.
All in favor?
I was going to say, I moved to adjourn. And
Meeting adjourned, and thank you very
we
much for
did, and we
coming.
were talking at the same time.
I'm glad that was brought up.
Now,